Good morning, YouTubers. Welcome to Making Memories with Michigan Mills. This morning, I'm going to kind of explain why I'm driving a Ford now. Most of you know, even though I don't have any video of it, I had a 2013 Mercedes Sprinter van. A 170-inch wheelbase, high top. Wasn't extended, so it wasn't the biggest one they made, but it was a big one. I love that van. Had it for 8 years. 8 years almost to the month. Well, it was to the month. I bought it initially for a business. The family and I were buying and selling things, kind of like the pickers. We would go to auctions, go to people's homes, go to barns, do storage auctions. We'd buy and sell, and that's why I bought the van. I bought it for the business, and then a few years later I started having health problems, and my partner, my youngest son, he moved to Pennsylvania, and so things sort of dissolved. I ended up out of the workforce, changed a lot of things in my life, and I ended up converting it into a camper. It was a very nice setup. Had a retractable screen door on the side door, put a fantastic fan in there, set it up with solar. My brother and I built a dresser for underneath my bed. He helped me build the solar suitcase I had, and he helped me with the screen door. And it served its purpose. It was a very good van. Put a lot of miles on it. Not a lot. Had 117,000 miles. Didn't have anything really major go wrong with it until the last year here, and that's why today I have a Ford. These newer vehicles, the diesels, they have Blue-Tech emissions stuff on them. I don't know all the particulars on it. All I know is it's quite costly to repair, and my circumstances have changed. Back in the day when I was working the business and working full-time, it wouldn't have been an issue, but it was going to be quite costly to repair, so I ended up selling it back to my dealership that I bought it from, and then I bought this van. Yeah, a little over a year ago, I was up in Wyoming, and this thing came up. Well, first it came up, it had DEF. The DEF is the diesel exhaust fluid. I had thought I had checked it not too long previously, so I stopped as soon as I could, and I filled it up, and then got going down the road, and all of a sudden this thing popped up. It said I had 16 starts. 16 starts? What? Yeah, I called a dealership, and they said, "Yep, you got to get it in here, get it on our computer system, and we'll let you know what's going on." Had 16 starts to get there. Closest dealership was either Salt Lake City, Utah, or Westminster, Colorado, which is near Denver. And I chose Denver because I was going to work my way down into New Mexico and back into Arizona for the winter. I had been spending the summer out there in Wyoming, roaming around all over. But anyway, so I get to the dealership, and he said, "Well, you gotta top off that DEF, the computer. That's why it triggered." And I said, "Man, I know I didn't run it out. I just put it in less than 1,000 miles previous." They didn't believe me. They said, no, they reset the thing for me, 180 bucks, 86. I think it was $186 just to reset it. And they said, as long as you keep the DEF fluid up, you should be fine. So this last summer, I'm up in the Upper Peninsula from where I'm from, and same thing pops up. This time it said I had 10 starts or something like that. And nearest dealership is where I bought the van from, is Appleton, Wisconsin, which is for me about a 4.5 hour drive from where I was at. So I get down there and they did the same thing, reset it, $160 some. They said that at some point this part for this diesel exhaust stuff is going to go out, and it's going to cost about 2,500 bucks. Yeah, it's like, whoa, well, that's kind of steep, but you know, what do you do? So I'm, you know, they didn't know how long it would take for that part to go out. They said it might be fine for 5,000 miles, 50,000 miles, they don't know. But eventually it'll go out and it'll have to be replaced, and it's going to cost 2,500 bucks or more. So this fall, after my son's birthday, in the end of October, you know, Halloween area time, I headed out to Arizona. I got down into Missouri, and boop, here's this 16 starts you got to get to the damn dealership. That's the problem. Wherever this happens, you know, I'm usually in the boonies because I don't like big cities. I'm a backroads person. I like to explore rural America, not freeway America. I hate freeways. I do ride them occasionally. Yeah, you almost have to sometimes, but I try to avoid them. Matter of fact, I drove like 700 plus miles out of my way last spring going back to Michigan to avoid freeways in big cities. So people are, what? I got all the time in the world. I ain't got nothing else to do, you know. I'm on no schedule. You know, there's occasionally you got to be somewhere, but most of the time not a problem. So I'm in Missouri. Nearest place dealership is Arkansas. That's like I said, that's the problem. Nobody wants to work on these Mercedes. They don't want to touch them, and so you got to go to the dealership or to an import place. And so the nearest one was Arkansas, which luckily was just inside Arkansas. So it was about 2.5, 3 hour drive from where I was at. I get there, they put it on the machine, they come out, they tell me $5,200, and they also quoted me $450 for an oil change and $350 for a fuel filter change. And those two things is what red flagged me, because I can do the fuel filter, which I've done. I can do the fuel filter myself for about 150 bucks, and the oil change I've done for about 120. My dealership was charging me 160, so 450 for an oil change was a little bit steep, and a little red flag for me flipped up. And at that point I only had 3 starts left when I got to that dealership, and I told them, I said, I don't have 5,200 bucks. I did have 5,200 bucks, but I didn't want to spend 5,200 bucks to fix this van. They said, well, what do you want to do? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I got to get to Appleton and see what they say, because that's where I bought the van. I feel that they were always straight with me, fair with me, and I thought, I'm going to go back to Appleton and see what they got to say. I said, well, drive it around, don't shut it off, because I got 10.5 hours in my mind. I'm thinking I got 10.5 hours to get to Appleton, and I only got 3 starts, I need all the starts I can get to get there. Excuse me. So they bring it around, they shut it off. I said, you did what? I can't believe you just shut that off. I said, no, I got 2 starts. The guy said, well, you had 3 when you got here. You got 3 starts yet. I said, as soon as I start that van and go down the road, it's going to reset to 2. He said, thank you very much. A little upset. So I get up the road, and kind of weird. All of a sudden, it went from 2 starts to 16 starts. I had 16 starts. Boom, got 16 starts. Thing pops up. What? What is going on here? My son tried to convince me to test the system. He says, when you get to the dealership, start and stop it until it has no more starts left. And I got there and I had 3, and I was kind of afraid to do it because I didn't want them to, well, now you got an extra charge because you have no starts and blah blah blah. Who knows? I was a little worried it was going to cost me more money, so I didn't test the theory. So now I got 16 starts. So I'm able to stop for fuel. I'm able to stop for a bathroom break. I was able to stop for the night. Oh, that was the other thing. The check engine light comes on also. And so anyway, I stopped for all those things. Stopped for, it was after I stopped for the bathroom break that all of a sudden the X amount of starts just went away. Engine light stayed on. I stopped for the night. I got up the next morning, continued on, stopped again for fuel, headed down the road, engine light goes out. So everything's like back to normal, like there's nothing wrong. There's no check engine light, there's no X amount of starts going on. I was like, what is going on? I'm like, less than 4 hours to Appleton. I said, I gotta get, I almost turned around and started heading back to Arizona. And I thought, no, I gotta know what's going on. So I continued on to Appleton, called, made my appointment, told them I was rolling in, pulled right in to their service bay. They got me in, hooked me up, told me $1,900. I said, what's the difference here? Why $1,900 here? Down there in Arkansas it was $5,200. And they said, well, Arkansas said you needed this part. Our service techs think that part's okay. It should be fine. They've seen enough of these. It shouldn't be a problem for you. But it will go out eventually. Could be 5,000 miles, could be 50,000 miles. They didn't know. And I thought, oh my God. So it's still going to cost me close to $5,000, within the next amount of time. I don't know how much time I got. And I only had 117,000 miles on this van. And I thought to myself, am I going to have to put out $5,000 every 100,000 miles plus? Sure, I had it 8 years, but on a budget now that I am on, I can't afford that kind of money going out. I mean, I could, but I'd have no money, and that I don't like being that broke. It's scary if you have not much money, especially when you're traveling. So I opted to sell it back to the dealership, and they got me a fair trade. They gave me a fair amount for selling it to them. I sold it outright to them, and then I rented a U-Haul truck, emptied it all out, emptied the van all out, put it in the U-Haul, and I was going to go buy another van, and that one wasn't what the guy said it was, advertising. And then I called my oldest son back in Michigan, and I ended up driving to his house emptying out the U-Haul in his garage and returning the U-Haul there, and then we went looking for another van, and I saw this one, and it was in Ohio, and it was only a few hours from Pittsburgh. And I thought, man, if I go to Ohio, I got to go to Pittsburgh, because that's where my youngest son was, and I haven't seen him. It's been almost 3 years, and I don't like big cities. He chose to move to Pittsburgh. He loves it there. I understand that's, everyone's different. Even my son, that I tried to instill, the enjoyment of the great outdoors, he chose city life, and that's all right. That's it. That's who he is. He's a great kid. I have no complaints about him. Sure, I have concerns. Every parent has concerns about their children and how well they're doing. Early in life, I don't know how much he worried about me, but I'm sure he had some concerns about me when I was in my younger life. I'm grateful that I made it through those years. But anyway, so now I got a new van. It's a Ford, and it should be a little easier to have somebody work on it. I shouldn't have to drive 2.5, 4 hours, 6 hours, whatever it might be, to get to a dealership for somebody to look at it or work on it. Thank God I didn't have to have it towed on any of those occasions. I did have to have it towed in Texas when the power steering unit went out and I couldn't drive it, so they did have to tow it then. That's about all that really went wrong with it, was the power steering unit thing. Your normal stuff, brakes and tires. I did have a caliper thing for the brakes in the rear go out, but that was under warranty when we first bought it. It was having a problem. So the van, I loved the van. I loved that van. It was great on fuel. I went a lot of places, Northwest Territories, all over the United States here in the lower part. I never made it over to Maine and all that, but I went up New York State, up in the Finger Lakes area. Been a lot of places with that van. So I got a lot of memories in it, but I had to let it go. So that's the story of why I don't have my Sprinter anymore. And this van here, it's only got 48,000 miles right now. I bought it with almost 46. So, it's almost 2,000 miles from Michigan to get to where I'm at. And the saga continues. Benny Jr. and I, my little traveling beagle, going to continue on the road and see where life will bring us. All right, so hopefully that explains a little bit of why I have a different van. Thanks for watching, and have a good weekend. It's a beautiful day.